One goal, one whistle, one review. That's all it took to blow up the biggest match of the World Cup, and to turn a legendary goalkeeper into FIFA's loudest on-air critic. Kasper Schmeichel spent 20 years standing between the posts, trusting officials, trusting the system. But on July 7, 2026, sitting in a broadcast studio instead of standing in goal, he watched something happen that he could not stay quiet about. This is the story of the night football's biggest governing body got called out, live, on camera, by one of the game's most respected voices. And by the end, you'll understand why this argument is far from over. To understand why this moment mattered, you need to understand who Kasper Schmeichel is. He is not just another pundit reading from a script. He is the son of Peter Schmeichel, one of the greatest goalkeepers in history. He built his own legacy from nothing, grinding through loan spells at Darlington Bury and Notts County before becoming a Premier League title winner with Leicester City's fairy tale 2016 season. He played at 3 World Cups for Denmark. He retired from international football in May 2026, only weeks before this tournament began. Now, instead of wearing gloves, he was wearing a headset, part of Fox Sports' World Cup Now panel, sitting alongside Peter Crouch, Alex Scott, and Bob Bradley, breaking down every match for millions of viewers. Nobody expected the story of the tournament to come from that panel. Then Argentina played Egypt. Egypt were doing the impossible. Against the defending champions, in a round of 16 knockout match, they built a 2-goal lead. Their forward, Mostafa Zico, had just scored what looked like a stunning second goal to put Egypt firmly in control. Then, VAR intervened. The referee was sent to the pitch-side monitor. After review, the goal was ruled out. A foul in the build-up. Several passes earlier, deep in Egypt's own attacking phase, the goal was wiped from the scoreboard. Egypt held on to their lead for a while longer, but the momentum had shifted. Argentina clawed back 1 goal, then another. Then deep into stoppage time, Lionel Messi equalized. Egypt's players surrounded the referee in disbelief, and in the second minute of stoppage time, Argentina scored the winner. Final score 3-2-1. Of the great World Cup comebacks, built on the back of a disallowed goal that never stopped being talked about. But nobody knew the real controversy was about to unfold in the studio. Not on the pitch, because as fans and pundits picked apart the decision, something didn't add up. Just days earlier, in the group stage, Argentina had been awarded a very different benefit of the doubt. Before Messi scored against Austria, a challenge by Alexis Mac Allister on Xaver Schlager went unpunished. No free kick, no VAR check, nothing. The goal stood. 2 similar situations. 2 completely different outcomes. One team got the benefit of VAR's forensic review. The other team's goal was picked apart pass by pass, until officials found a reason to disallow it. That inconsistency is exactly what set off the broadcast panel. And it's what Schmeichel could not let go, unchallenged. That's where everything changed, on air. Across multiple networks, respected voices in the game began saying the same thing out loud. This wasn't just a bad call. It was a pattern. Schmeichel, alongside fellow panelists, pushed back hard on the officiating, questioning why a foul that far removed from the goal, minimal contact, well before the ball hit the net, was enough to cancel out one of Egypt's biggest moments in World Cup history, while other, arguably clearer incidents involving Argentina were waved through without a second look. Former FIFA referee Mark Clattenburg went even further on air, arguing the intervention itself broke from how the tournament had been officiated all along. Too subjective, too far removed from the goal, not a clear foul in his own words. Ian Wright, watching from another broadcast, asked the obvious question: if VAR can reach back that far to cancel a goal for Argentina's opponent, why wasn't the same standard applied to a penalty shout from Mohamed Salah? Minutes later, in Argentina's own box, suddenly this wasn't about one match. It was about whether FIFA's biggest tournament could trust its own review system. However, the consequences went far beyond the broadcast booth. Egypt's Football Federation released an official statement, saying it could not stay silent about the officiating, and specifically about how VAR had been used, or not used, during the match. Egypt's head coach, Hossam Hassan, went even further, publicly suggesting the tournament had been shaped by forces beyond the sport itself, and that the world champions had received help staying in the competition. Those are extraordinary accusations for a football federation to put in writing. And they landed at the worst possible moment for FIFA, a governing body that has spent years trying to convince fans that VAR makes the game fairer, not more confusing. The real story is even crazier once you look at how fans responded. Clips of the disallowed goal, and of pundits like Schmeichel and Clattenburg dissecting it, spread across every platform within hours. Fans didn't just debate the individual decision, they questioned the entire credibility of VAR at this World Cup. Comment sections filled with fans from completely different countries, who had no connection to Egypt or Argentina, saying the same thing. If this can happen in a knockout match with the world watching, what does that mean for every other decision this tournament? For a governing body that wants VAR to be seen as neutral and mechanical, having millions of neutral fans openly doubting it is a genuine crisis of trust. Fox Sports' own rules analyst, Dr. Joe Machnick, offered the more measured, technical defense, explaining that VAR exists precisely because on-field officials don't always have the right camera angle, and that from the replay, there was contact worth reviewing. But that technical defense ran straight into the emotional argument from people like Schmeichel and Clattenburg. Correct by the letter of the law is not the same as consistent. And consistency, treating every team, every goal, every foul the same way, is the entire promise VAR was built on. That gap between what the rulebook allows and what fans and former players believe is fair is the real fight happening here. It's not really Schmeichel against FIFA as an institution. It's a growing chorus of respected football voices, with Schmeichel among the loudest, demanding FIFA prove its biggest technological experiment can be trusted. Under the brightest lights in the sport, then something bigger started to take shape. This wasn't the first time VAR faced criticism at this tournament, and it almost certainly won't be the last. But every time a former professional with real credibility, someone who spent 2 decades trusting officials from the goal line, stands up and says, "This isn't good enough," FIFA's margin for error shrinks a little more. With the knockout stages intensifying and the world's attention only growing, FIFA now faces a tournament where every major VAR decision will be measured against this exact moment. Get it wrong again, and the conversation won't just be about one match. It will be about whether football's biggest institution can be trusted to referee its own showpiece event. In the end, this was never really about one disallowed goal. It was about a legend of the game refusing to stay quiet when he saw something that didn't sit right, using the platform he'd earned over 20 years in goal to ask the question millions of fans were already asking. Kasper Schmeichel didn't take down FIFA, but he did something arguably more powerful. He made sure the world couldn't look away from the question at the heart of modern football. Can we really trust the system built to make the game fair? That question isn't going away, and neither, it seems, is Schmeichel's willingness to ask it.